people are saying, oh yeah, when you're finals MVP, you are now the best player on the planet. To me, that makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care if it's a week, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? LeBron James. That's who y'all gotta start appreciating. And you gotta stop disrespecting this man. The LeBron slander is going to stop. I told y'all every single day I do this show, I will start it with the same thing every time. LeBron's just not my GOAT. He's not just your GOAT. He is the GOAT. Don't argue with me. Argue with your mama because she loves you enough to show you mercy. End of story. No ifs, buts, or cocoa nuts. LeBron's the GOAT. Ladies and gentlemen, as the children say in the streets, what it do, baby? It is your boy Pride. Welcome to another episode of the Prideful podcast. The man, the myth, the legend, Unc, he ain't gonna be here today. He had some business to take care of, which is all good. He will be back next week. Still got the NFL predictions coming up. And I said this week we're going to do the Western Conference since on Tuesday, the NBA regular season begins. I'll be giving my prediction on the Western Conference. But before then, this is my team. This is my team. When it comes to college football, I don't really pick a team. I just watch. That's all I do. I just watch. I don't care what it is. None of that concerns me. I just watch. And let me tell you something. I've been watching my team. Yes, Colorado, my team. I was punching the air yesterday. I was punching it hard. I would have done damage. Swear to God, I would have done damage. 29 straight points. Straight. It looked phenomenal in the first half. It looked great. Then what happened? Life. I don't know what you want to call it, but life happened. And it was depressing. Let me tell you. My boy, let me tell you, was it depressing? What am I supposed to do? 29. At the half, it was 29-0. And it was a very efficient offense you saw from Colorado. Defense looked relatively solid. Then, I guess they thought it was over. Because in the second half, the defense gave up in the second half in overtime a whopping 46 points. I done told y'all this defense is too small and too inconsistent. And that also wasn't even the problem. That wasn't just the problem. The other problem that honestly has been a common theme for Colorado since week 2. Because week 1, they were great with it. Since week 2, the penalties have been horrible. 17 penalties for 127 yards. And there were some of those penalties, some of them, that ended up costing them because it was a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 3 situation that the defense decided to hold for some unknown reason, which then gave Stanford the automatic first down. I think Prime is I think he's a great head coach. I really do. You don't go out there and have your offense put up over 20 points in the first half without being a good head coach. I don't think that's possible. And by the way, shout out to Alec Manor, wide receiver from Stanford. The most receiving yards in a Stanford game. 13 receptions, 294 yards. Got 3 touchdowns in there too. Big ups to him. Congratulations to him because, boy, he balled out. Travis Hunter came back, 13 receptions, 140 yards with 2 tutties. Xavier Weaver, I believe he had 2 touchdowns, which that's off to him. I've said this before. The offense doesn't concern me. I'm good with the offense of the Colorado Buffaloes. I'm good with the offense. My problem is the defense. Because when you're an undersized team that has to rely on speed, you put yourself in a very nasty situation. Because like I said, ever since week one, they were disciplined. They had a couple penalties, but it was not to this effect. Since then, they are a undisciplined team. And most of it is coming on the defensive end of the ball. That's the sad part. Now, obviously, there is some false starts. And I understand some of those things, right? I think Shador has already had a couple delayed games. But a lot of these are pass interference, holding. It's just, and the thing is these penalties are happening in very crucial times. Again, 3rd and 2, where one more stop and we get the ball and we can kind of kill this. But for some unknown reason, I'm not gonna say for some unknown reason. The reality is when you're not a big team and you can't really be physical and you get beat off the line, you can only really do one thing. You have to grab them, the wide receiver, like the corners and the linebackers do this too. They'll grab a wide receiver to try to keep up with it. That's just what happens. They don't have the size to jam anybody up at the line. They don't have that size. They try it and then they get pushed aside because they're just not that big. Again, respectfully, their defensive line and their quarterbacks are the same size. Even the offensive line. But somehow the offensive line is making it work because, they'll keep a somewhat of a relatively clean pocket for Shador. Going into the half, it was 29-0. And then 26 straight points by Stanford. And all this is from the third quarter. From the third quarter. And their first possession in the fourth quarter brought them up to 26-29. Colorado scores another touchdown. Great for them. And then Stanford gets another touchdown. So then it's now 33-36, and then a field goal at the end of the game to force it to overtime, which brought it to 36-36. Colorado got a touchdown, put them up 43-36, and then obviously touchdown, Stanford. Then they forces a second overtime, and then a field goal from Stanford is what ended up ultimately icing the wins. If you really look at it, like I said, man, it was just undisciplined. It was a very undisciplined team. That's just the reality of it. And to be honest, it's very hard. Now, I'm going to ride it out because I think if anybody, I think Coach Prime could hopefully, Coach Sanders could help figure this out. But until they start becoming a more disciplined team, they're not going to make it to a bowl game. End of story. There's nothing, in my opinion, that they could really do. I don't understand why you can go on this rapid decline, and it's almost as if defensively they don't know how to play football. It's insane to me. I don't understand it. And I just genuinely don't. And I've said this from day one. Offensively, they're going to be fine. My concern was defense. And so far, defensively, horrible, terrible, doo-doo in the butt. I think that's what the kids say nowadays. They've been horrible. You're undersized and you commit too many penalties. Unless your team can average 50 and put up at least 50 points every single game, there's nothing you can do. That's the unfortunate reality of the situation. It's an unfortunate reality, but it's a reality that Colorado's living in right now. It's an unfortunate reality, but again, I said it before and I'll say it again. When your defense cannot, under any circumstances, they can't stop me, what a time to be alive. Again, Alec Ayomanor, big ups to him. Boy had a heck of a game. But again, Colorado bowl game, man, I'm scared. I don't see it, man. Respectfully, I don't see it. And again, it all really just comes down. Personally, it's just the turnovers. You minimize the turnovers, we have a different conversation. I just had to get that eulogy out the way. It's been real rip to the season of the Colorado Buffaloes. Speaking of the exact opposite, because apparently Colorado don't know how to win enough to make it to a bowl game. Let's talk about some NBA playoffs. Last week we did the East. Today, I'm taking my talents over to the West because I think there's something that's going to be very interesting that's going to happen in the West. I genuinely believe this in my heart of hearts. I think a lot of the stuff in the West stays the same. I do believe Denver is still the number one seed. Actually, matter of fact, let me start from bottom to top. Last year, the four bottom teams, so to speak, that made into the playoffs was the Pelicans at the 10th seed. The ninth seed was the Thunder. The 8th seed was the Timberwolves, and the 7th seed were the Lakers. I believe a lot of this relatively stays the same. Now, I do have the Lakers going up, which effectively kind of leaves something open, but the 5 teams that missed the playoffs, Dallas Mavericks, Utah Jazz, Portland Trailblazers, Houston Rockets, and San Antonio Spurs, I believe they are the same teams that end up missing the playoffs. Neither one of those teams. I understand with Dallas, they got Luka and Kyrie, but you lost all the sides. The main problem they had was the fact that they really couldn't rebound and could not defend the paint. And unfortunately, they almost seem to double down on not caring about the paint. They only have on their roster, they only have one legitimate center. Only one legitimate center on that roster. And I think he's a rookie. Other than that, and it's a youngster that they're probably not even going to use anyway. So now you look at the roster, and again, they have 2 legitimate centers. My bad. It's Derek Lively II, who's again a youngster, and Dwight Powell. Dwight Powell is your starting center. As I was saying, they clearly gave up when it comes to protecting the paint, and that really is their problem. Because again, Luka and Kyrie, for as great as they are offensively, defensively, they are not good at all in the slightest. Then you look at the rest of the roster, and again, there's nothing here that makes me go, wow, I think these guys took a step. I think they're at the same exact place that they are last year. The Jazz, Portland, Rockets, and Spurs, obviously, all of them are rebuilding. How Utah started in the beginning of the year was impressive. Unfortunately, it was not sustainable, so they ended up missing it. And again, Portland just traded Dame. We already know the implications with that. Houston is still trying to develop their young players and figure out if they want to keep them or not. And then the Spurs, again, they're more focused on developing Victor Wembanyama to see if he can be that franchise guy that they've been looking for a while. So that's why I believe most of this stuff here, in terms of 1 through 10, I believe the teams would be the same. It's just a little bit of mixing of orders. So 10th, I do have the Pelicans. I think they just make it there just because. I want to be nice and put the Pelicans higher. But the reality is, no, you know what? No, I ain't gonna do that. I ain't gonna do that. Bump that noise. Bump that noise. Okay. 10th is gonna be Oklahoma City Thunder. I think they are going to take a step in the right direction. But I do still think that they're a couple years away from some of their main important focal pieces to mature. So OKC 10th, 9th, Minnesota. We already know what they are. Next, right at the 8th seed. This is where I'm going. I'm gonna put this, yeah, 8th seed. Because now I'm reorganizing it in my head. 8th seed, the Pelicans. I think that's solid. I think most of the games, I think the entire seeding for the most part is going to be decided within like probably 3 to 5 games. So 8th, I will put the Pelicans. 7th, I'm going to put Golden State. The reason why I'm going to put Golden State is I believe the first half of the year is going to be a very, I'm not going to say that they're going to be bad, but I think what Golden State understands is our core has been through it. You just put us in the playoffs, we'll be fine. I think they're going to do a lot of mixing and matching with all the pieces they have to figure out new lineups that they can implement later down the road. It'll be the same thing with when LeBron was with Cleveland. I think it was the year they were the 4th seed, where there were certain games LeBron didn't care about winning. He was just like, I want to try this lineup and be involved in this lineup, and I want to see how it feels, how I can orchestrate this offense. I think Golden State does that same thing this year. I think there's going to be a lot of new things they're going to try to do. Is it going to cost them a few games here and there? Yeah, definitely. But at the same time, Golden State is a team that's already established. And with all the success we've seen them have, they could be the 10th seed. And people will still pick them to win the championship. So I think they end up being 6th. So far, 10th seed, Thunder, 9th, Timberwolves, 8th, Pelicans, 7th, Golden State. Now, 1 through 6, I think 6 is the Clippers. Obviously, I said this before. Their first 2 years they had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George was the only legitimate chance they had in winning a championship. Now they're kind of just like desperately trying to go back in time to grab that magic. Unfortunately for them, they won't be able to. I got the Clippers in 6th. 5th, I have the Sacramento Kings. I do see a little bit of a fallback, but like I said, I genuinely believe the race will be between I'm gonna say 3 games. I'll say it'll all be a 3-game difference. So I think it'll be extremely close. So I'm gonna put Sacramento at the 5th seed. The 4th, I'm going to put Memphis. I think even though they're going to list Ja Morant for a while, if you see what they have, it's really not bad. I do still think that they'll be able to get a couple wins here and there, and they'll be able to make sure that they're fine and all that stuff. So I got Memphis 4th. 3rd, I got Phoenix. They beat last year. They were not deep at all. Now they have something of a bench. So I do think that they'll end up being a little better on paper. The only awkward part is, can Devin Booker play point guard for the entire season? Now, last year, or like a couple years prior when he had Chris Paul, you saw him do it in spurts. You saw him do it here and there. Can he do it for the entire season? Who knows? We won't really know until we see it. So I think there'll be a couple stretches where he struggles, all that stuff, because he's a scorer. He's a natural scorer. He's a bucket, right? So he's gonna try to learn for the entire season to be the point guard. Can he do it? That'll be a very interesting thing to see. I already said Denver's going to be number 2. Or I'm sorry, number 1. I think the Lakers are going to be second. Everything the Lakers did, I think, are very impressive. They made themselves better, and they also did it with the idea of we're going to give Anthony Davis, can he be that guy? And I think an injury free. Well, I'm not going to say injury free, but an Anthony Davis that gives you 65 games, I think is something that's phenomenal for the Lakers. So, but yeah, that's my Western Conference standings. And with my luck, it'll be the exact opposite. Before I get up out of here, I know it's a quick show, but when it's only one person, what are you gonna do? But before I head up out of here, obviously we end every single show with the predictions, and this show will not be any different. Obviously, there is yet another game in London. God bless them. And these dudes got it all, man. Makes me want to move out there. So, Ravens and Titans. I do have the Ravens winning. People think what they saw 2 weeks ago from Derrick Henry when he had 22 touches, ran for over 100 yards. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, that's him. No, because last week he struggled. He struggled before that. I think he had 122 yards. I think the next height he had was about 80 yards, and then everything else 60s. Again, last week he had 40. The reality is, and not only with Tennessee Titans now putting Derrick Henry, they're now fielding offers for Derrick Henry. The reality is he's not that guy anymore. It sucks to say. Some guys fall off because of age, attrition. In Derrick Henry's case, he fell off literally because of that foot injury. Jonathan said he's been struggling. The backup been doing good. Yeah, and he has been. And I believe they're going to try to feed him the ball more. What they do with Derrick Henry is kind of up in the air. But again, when unfortunately, some guys, when they hit that injury, especially when you're a running back and it's your foot, more times than not, it's going to end up costing you. Next game, I got Dolphins over the Panthers. I think that is pretty self-explanatory. The Panthers, offensively and defensively, are going through some wild pains. And the Dolphins got Tua Tagovailoa, who just slings the ball, and it somehow ends into a touchdown. Top 5 in passing yards. So I also believe he's top 5 in touchdowns as well. So I definitely got Dolphins over Panthers. Next game, I do have the Saints over the Texans. That being said, I do think the Texans can make a very interesting game. CJ Stroud is looking not just better than Bryce Young. He might end up being in the top 10 quarterbacks next year if he continues on this pace. This kid, for as young as he is commandeering respect, confidence. I know last week it was a wire-to-wire game and he ended up losing it, but the way that he ended up driving his offense down the field to score, it was beautiful. It was lovely. John said Nico Collins got a step up against the Saints. And listen, I thought he was going to have a game last week. He didn't. He didn't. But also, let's also keep in mind that this Saints defense is a problem. So if Nico Collins struggles a little bit, let's not blame him. And also, last week, he didn't get that many targets. I think he only got 4 targets. He didn't get a lot of targets. So it's going to be very interesting to see how the Houston Texans approach this game. It's a situation where are they going to give him more targets? Are they going to try to? Or are they going to do the same thing? Where they're going to try to establish a run game, do play actions, rock with some short passes. And if Nico Collins is open for the deep shot, we'll go to him. If not, it is what it is. I'm not sure how they're planning on this. That being said, that front line for the Saints defense, it's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem. So I hope they target Nico Collins more. However, I am biased. I have him on fantasy. So I'm very biased when I say that. So D'Amico Ryans, don't listen to me too much when I say this because I just need some fantasy points. Because your boy's on a three-week win streak, bro, right now. And it feels good. It feels real good. By the way, Travis Kelce, stop limping, bro. You're really triggering me, bro. You got me hyperventilating. I need an asthma pump, and I don't even have asthma. Get it together, Travis Kelce. The next game, Commanders over Falcons. I just think this is a battle between who can make the less mistakes. And if you ask me, I'm going to just put it into the Commanders. I think the Falcons are a dumpster fire. That being said, maybe it's just because Kyle Pitts, unfortunately, is being quadruple team. They did go get Van Jefferson. The Falcons did. They got Van Jefferson from the Rams. So maybe that kind of takes a little bit of pressure off. Maybe. Who knows? But free Kyle Pitts, man. Free Kyle Pitts. That's all I got to say about that. The next game, I had the Jaguars over the Colts. The Jags are starting to look better now. I did say a few weeks ago that I was very, very disappointed in Jacksonville. I thought they were, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I was looking at them like, man, this team should be better. I said before that if they don't win their division, a division that's open for the taking, they need to, this is going to be a disappointment. Got blown up by Houston, but I understand that people are not going to take the win over the Falcons credible. I don't think that's fair because they actually went out and won. But they then, in London, when they had the back-to-backs in London, they beat the Buffalo Bills. And that is what, in my opinion, I was waiting for that because they played a very, very great game of football. So this is the Jacksonville that I was hoping I would see. And this is the Jacksonville I've been expecting to see. Whether or not they can continue it, it remains to be seen. However, I do think they can. I'm going to, for now, I'm chalking it up to they just had a slow start and they'll be fine. I'm going to chalk it up to that. If they lose to the Colts, I'm going to have a conversation with somebody. I don't know who, bro. I will stop watching AEW if Jacksonville cannot get it together, bro. Because the cons, bro, figure it out. Google's free, bro. Okay? But I understand Jonathan Taylor is back. By the way, for all you fantasy heads, be careful starting Jonathan Taylor because Zach Moss has been balling out of his mind, and they're still putting a restriction on Jonathan Taylor. So even though he's back, don't just immediately throw him in there. Because for all you know, you'll throw him in there, you'll start him, you'll be excited, and then he'll only get like 7 touches. So they're still trying to work him back. In about 2 weeks, expect Jonathan Taylor to probably be back at his full workload. But until then, you're gonna have to suffer the consequences. But yeah, I had the Jaguars over the Colts. Next game, Bengals over the Seahawks. Now, everything that I said about the good old Jacksonville Jaguars, do me a favor, copy and paste for the Bengals. Because the Bengals have been horrible. They've been terrible. They've been disgustingly garbage. I understand they won twice, but it was the disgusting game that they played against the Rams, which surprised the mess out of me. I didn't. To this day, that still gives me a headache. It was that garbage game, and then they beat the Cardinals. But this team has looked horrible. Outside of the 34-point explosion they had last week against the Cardinals. Other than that, they haven't really looked like the team that we expected they would be. For me, again, I'm going to be nice. And I'm going to say it is just the beginning of the season blues for them. They will get it together. I'm going to be nice and say that. That being said, if they lose against Seattle, grab your pitchforks. That's all I'm going to say. Grab your pitchforks because it's going to be side crazy. But I do got the Bengals over the Seahawks. Next game, Vikings over the Bears. If Justin Fields to DJ Moore can continue this hot streak that they got going on, maybe they have a chance. But that being said, I do have the Vikings. even though they lost Justin Jefferson, I still do think that you still got Cam. They got Cam Akers who will end up getting more touches. So I do genuinely believe they'll be able to kind of use them a little more. And they also have TJ Hawkins, so they still got weapons. So for me, I'm still willing to take this Vikings offense over the Bears defense. I do think it'll be a close game, and there are going to be moments where they will miss Justin Jefferson without a shadow of a doubt. However, I do genuinely believe that there will be moments where you're gonna be like, okay, look, they do miss Justin Jefferson, but you still got other guys on this offense that can make plays. Both, obviously, I still think Cam Akers has a couple plays in him offensively when it comes to running the ball. And obviously, TJ Hawkins is probably going to end up getting Travis Kelce type targets. You would kind of have to. And Jonathan says it right in the head. Hawkinson will get a lot of targets. He's going to have to. He's definitely going to have to. He's going to have to get a lot of targets because let's be honest, they really can't guard him. A guy that big, who can run routes that clean, it'll be very difficult to guard him. So I still got the Vikings over the Bears, although it'll be a close one. The next one, 49ers over the Browns. Obviously, 49ers right now, best team in football, and I don't even think it's close, respectfully. I do like the Eagles, but I think they're a distant second. Again, another game where Deshaun Watson does not play, so PJ Walker will get another start for the Cleveland Browns. So, but yeah, no, even with Deshaun, this Browns team just is not it to be able to hold itself or hold its own against the best team in football in the 49ers. Next game, Patriots, Raiders. I'm going to go Patriots. The reason why I'm picking Patriots, I think this is a flashpoint game for Bill Belichick, for Mac Jones, for this offense. If Mac Jones gets benched again, as a Patriots fan, I need to see him move on. We need to move on from him. If Bill Belichick cannot be both GM and head coach, he needs to give up one half. If you want to keep him as a coach, that's fine. He cannot be the GM. If he doesn't want to coach anymore, or if he wants to be the GM, fine. Can't coach anymore. I thought we'd be able to finish over 500. I'm wrong. Horribly wrong. I think this is going to be an ugly, ugly, ugly game. And it is just my own pride, no pun intended, my own vanity, my own greed for my own team, and the love affair that I have with the New England Patriots on why I'm picking them. If you want me to give you a logical reason, I can't. Hop off. Next game, the Detroit Lions. I have them beating the Buccaneers. Buccaneers have looked very impressive, so is Baker Mayfield. Coming off a bye week, I do think, they'll be able to put up a good fight. That being said, I do think the Lions are a very, very, very good team. Obviously, they're winning their division currently right now. And I think it'll be a shootout. I really do. I think it'll be a very, very close game, but I do have the Lions up on top. Next game, I have the Rams over the Cardinals. I did not think the Rams would be this good. I really didn't. I thought they were going to be a very bad team that come week 6 is going to start looking to unload contracts. That is what I thought. But now I'm comfortable saying not only have I been wrong, but I'm glad. I really am glad that I've been wrong. Even though the Rams are 2-3. Obviously, they lost that ugly game that I already touched on against the Bengals. They lost a very close game, a one-possession game against the Niners. They were there, and they had their opportunities. And another game that they lost against the Eagles, they had their opportunity last week. They had their opportunity. So, even though they're 2-3, I do like a lot of what this offense and defense, more specifically of the Rams, is doing. This Rams defense, even though they got a lot of youngsters playing for them, those youngsters are stepping up. And I will give them big credit to that. But I do think the Rams do beat the Cardinals, go to 3-3, and hopefully they will look to try to continue that success. Eagles over Jets. Next game, Bills over Giants. And the Monday night game, Chargers over Cowboys. I think if I genuinely believe the Chargers, they really are talented. The Chargers are a very talented team, and I do think that they can. I do think that they'll be able to beat Dallas. This Chargers team has showed you a couple times that we could listen. This same Chargers team hung in there in that back and forth week 1 shootout against the Dolphins. You cannot tell me that they cannot do the same thing against Dallas. You can't tell me that. You really can't. I think Justin Herbert will have a game. I hope. And I genuinely believe that they will end up having a very good game, that being the Chargers, offensively and defensively. And I think they end up walking away with the win. That is it for me. It's been 36 minutes. Thought I was only going to be done in 20, but, again, give me a mic. I'll talk for as long as I feel like. Ladies and gentlemen, follow us on Twitter at Prideful Takes. Catch us on Facebook at Prideful Takes and YouTube at Prideful Takes. Follow your boy on TikTok, PR_Pride22, for some sports takes that I had that have not quite made the show. Punk, I was thinking about you. I miss you. I know you will be back here next week. And I can't wait to see you. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been your boy Pride. I'll be back here next Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, to talk more shit about your favorite team. Until then, y'all know what to do. Be safe. The fact that people are saying, oh yeah, when you're finals MVP, you are now the best player on the planet, to me, that makes no sense whatsoever. I don't care if it's a week, 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? LeBron James. That's who y'all gotta start appreciating. And you gotta stop disrespecting this man.